This is absolutely definitely a really cool direction it's going into. The hype around this model isn't quite there yet. The new Chinese open source model, GLM-4.5, was released this week. And this is positioning itself as a high-end open source hybrid model, targeting reasoning, coding, and agentic tasks. And it's 355 billion parameters. It uses a mixture of experts approach. I don't know what that is.
Will I explain it?
Go for it, yeah.
When you usually prompt an LLM, it has basically like a huge, let's say a map, and the map is like really big just to navigate it. And mix of experts is basically in the beginning we have like a router, which depending on what comes in decides which of these maps to use, and then for each generated tokens, we just use a much smaller map. So that's the map is like the active parameters, and the total model size is like all the parameters. At the time, only one of these, let's say, chunks can be active and process the data. And it loses a bit of capabilities, but the huge advantage is that you have a very huge speed improvement, because instead of having to evaluate always with all the tokens, with all the parameters, you always work on with a subset, which is special, which is like the most likely to be correct for the kind of tokens you put in. And the models get trained that they roughly use all of the experts equally. That's a very simplified explanation.
Oh, okay, fine. Yeah, makes sense. And you said you looked into this yesterday, right, Max?
Currently, what is the easiest and fastest way for us is to post-train open source models. So post-training means we basically ignore a lot of the training, take into account that it will probably lose a lot of knowledge, but it can do what we want way better after. So we currently use Qwen or QWen, or whatever you want to call it. But not the news, like not the 3, but 2.5 VL, because we want vision. And but what we are currently exploring is maybe you can have some reasoning and planning without vision. So that's some experience internally currently. But when we look at GLM-4.5, it's unfortunately not vision. The only GLM that is GLM-4V that can input, that can take vision input. And from that perspective, it could be interesting for us to fine tune it to get some reasoning done or task planning. But to go here and say, oh, we are way better with SO3 or Claude Opus is kind of an I mean it's fine, the comparison, but it's like without vision. So if you don't have to support vision, you can basically throw out a lot of computation. You don't need to train for a huge new complex kind of task set. So in my I would say it's way easier if you do like them, just throw away vision and then say, okay, we train it all on text. It's obviously easier to outrun these multimodal models.
In regard to also GLM, there's a general issue that the old GLM-4, I run it locally. The issue is basically that it has like huge instabilities of the context size, so you cannot even get past 8,000 tokens and stay stable. It already starts to slowly break apart at 6,000.
What do you mean with break up?
Basically, the model gets very irrational, and the recall like stuck in the needle when and everything. If you look at the graphs, it's horrible. It goes downhill really quickly. We have issues. As an example, the new Gwen 3 was also overbaked, where if you just train it with random noise data, it actually gets better again, because it was just so much fine-tuned, like basically overbaked if you like try to over-optimize it.
It ranks really well, but this is on Chinese, like in Chinese as a language. Because I was looking at the LM Arena scores and I just couldn't find GLM 4.5. I didn't know where it was. And then I read somewhere or heard somewhere that it's these are Chinese benchmarks using Chinese language and things like that. So this is absolutely definitely a really cool direction it's going into. And something to get somewhat excited about. But I think the hype around this model isn't quite there yet, because it doesn't cater for Western language even, you know.
This is part of a larger conversation on my show, Cmd+AI, which we stream live every single week. We discuss the news and all things related to AI in the world of design and web. Catch us next week and join in the banter.